What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Sanctuary of Sarras, the first actual full expansion for Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon, and it comes out on December 15th, which should be tomorrow for some of you, or it will already be out for some of you, depending on when you're watching this video. For everyone, so Xbox, PlayStation, and of course PC, which is what I played it on. Now you can see my character right here that has already completed the expansion. I'm wearing some of the expansion exclusive new armor, and it looks pretty damn cool. Kind of looks a little bit Mind Flayer-ish in a way. I'm not going to spoil everything, but I wanted to show you guys just a little bit here. Now the developers have said that this expansion will give you about 10 to 15 hours of content, and I completed the expansion, and that guy is not someone I want to mess with. I completed the expansion in about 8 hours myself without doing everything, without exploring everything, and there was definitely some side quests left, so I can definitely see a lot of players taking between 10 to 15 hours to complete it, and some of you guys will do it quicker as well. Right now I'm actually in the Act 2 region, the Kunok region of the game. This is not the actual expansion. I will take you in there in a moment, but I wanted to let you know that to play this expansion, all you have to do is have unlocked the Kunok. God bless. I should probably do scripted reviews again and edit all the gameplay footage. This style is not working for me. Okay, different load point, pre-expansion. All you have to have done is unlock the Act 2 region of the game, which is the Kunok region, which I'm in right now, in order to access the expansion. Now, if you are deep into Act 2, or perhaps you're deep into Act 3, it doesn't matter, because this expansion, it's an instanced area. We're going to go down into it soon. It's actually down there once I actually initiate it. You're going to go into an entirely new region. I'm going to show you a little bit of it as well, and this region is actually scaled to your level. Now, typically, I'm not a fan of level scaling in RPGs. I think it kind of ruins the whole point of progression and feeling more powerful, etc. However, an expansion like this, especially one that's in its own specific region and zone that doesn't mess up the rest of the game, I think this is a great idea out of the devs. So you guys can come into this if you're at the very end of the game, or if you just got to Act 2, you can enjoy this content, and your power level is going to at least somewhat match what the DLC was designed for. To access the expansion, once you get to Act 2, all you have to do is go to the main city, and after that cutscene takes place when you walk into the actual main city, after that occurs, then you have the opportunity to simply just set a bonfire anywhere, and you guys will see that a new character appears here, and if we talk, we're going to be talking to this character, and Arthur's going to get involved and all sorts of interesting stuff. Then once you get that quest, you're going to end up coming down here into the realm of Sarras. I'm not going to spoil too much, but as you guys can see, we have a very underwater nautical type theme going on here, and it is absolutely beautiful. And the zone and the region is very, very big, and there's a lot of interiors that look super cool. So if you think I'm spoiling this right now, well, just wait. You're going to be going into different areas, and many of them are going to make you pretty excited, visually speaking. Now, this expansion is kind of what you would expect from what you get in the main game. So there's going to be a main quest that you follow. There's going to be a bunch of... You bastard. There's going to be a bunch of side quests, of course, some of which you will have to engage with because it kind of ties into the main story, many of which are also optional as well, but there's definitely a main story, and I thought it was pretty damn good. The ending of it was the best in my opinion. The first couple hours are really good because you're just in this realm that you're not familiar with. Everything's new and you don't really know what's going on, and then the middle of the story, I would say the middle of the expansion, things kind of settle down a little bit, and it's still fun, but it's not as exciting as you kind of get settled into the realm. But then it starts ramping right back up towards the end and makes it all worth it. There was some really cool lore. There's a ton of optional dialogue that you can get into if you really want to delve into the lore of some of these new characters. As you guys can see, there's going to be creatures that you don't really recognize before. This is an underwater creature. I'm not going to give away anything, but there's all sorts of new characters, and it's just interesting because it's very different, and it doesn't necessarily, it's not like you have to play this expansion when you're playing through the game. It really does feel like a side piece of content, but at the same time, it's a side piece of content that adds to the game overall, while also being able to stand on its own, which is like perfect for an expansion that's added, you know, at this point of the game, somewhere in the middle of, you know, the game when you unlocked Act 2. I should also mention that there are cutscenes in this expansion, similar to the ones that you experience in the main game. But also, narratively speaking, I'll just show you guys the quest log right here. Don't read anything, but as you guys can see, I have the main quest going. I have 3 side quests, 2 miscellaneous right now. I'll get off that screen. But with the main story and also some of the side quests, you do feel like you have agency over how some of them play out. You'll have a choice if you want to just straight up kill a character, if you want to help a character, not help a character. And I do appreciate the devs giving us the agency to decide how we want to go about that. Now, the side quests don't feel crazy impactful for the entirety of the expansion, but you do have choices to make, and I appreciate that. Now, as far as the main quest goes, you also have some choices to make, specifically at the end of it, and depending on what you do will actually change how the gameplay plays out at the very end, and also, of course, narratively speaking, will change kind of your ending to this expansion, and that is awesome. I'm so happy that they decided to go that route with this game in general, because most of the time if you see somebody attempt like a game like this, a Scrolls-like game, they're not going to have like multiple paths and too many permutations. So bravo to the devs for that. Make sure you guys play the story through in its entirety. Now, one thing that I really appreciated about the expansion, obviously you guys can tell I'm speaking very positively about it, is that there's a few new gameplay type elements that you're not used to in the main game that also give it kind of a fresh feeling. For example, if we take a look at the map here, as you guys can see, the zone is divided into it almost looks like different islands, and the areas in between are like this area of water that have heavy currents that you can't actually travel through. But there actually is a way to get from piece of land to other piece of land, and that is through these portals right here, these current portals. And I'm not going to explain the story behind them or anything, but let's go ahead and just hop into one. And as you can see, this creature is going to take us all the way over to this other zone, and some of these are kind of small, but some of them are also quite large. And what you'll notice when you're exploring is that there are a ton of like dungeons and interior regions. I think they said 20 in total. You'll just come up to a spot and there'll be like a cave that you can go in, and then it'll bring you into like an instanced little dungeon or something like that, and you'll find these all over. I am currently using an anchor as a weapon because there's a ton of new weapons in the expansion, and actually exploration is heavily rewarded because you're going to find all sorts of cool stuff, man. One of the highlights for me is some of the armor, etc. As you can see, I'm wearing something different right now. I don't want to click on everything, but man, there's some really cool armor sets that you're going to be finding and gathering, and as well as weapons. We have new bows, we have new swords, and of course new spells. I'll show you guys maybe 1 or 2 spell shortly, but first let me just show you this right here, since we're talking about like unique gameplay elements that you don't experience in the main game and why it makes the expansion feel different and feel exciting. As you guys can see here, we have a membrane, and in the expansion you're going to have a special item. You'll eventually get this item as you keep playing to break through the membrane, and this item actually has charges on it, and the charges need to, oh, where is it? It's somewhere in here. Here it is. So as you can see, it has 2 out of 3 charges right now, so every time you use it to cut through membrane, it uses up one of those charges. But when you come into these membranes, it can bring you into an area that typically contains a chest or something like that. And as you can see, I just got a new weapon just by going in there, some nautical themed weapon, which is really cool. But to charge that item or that tool back up, you actually have to find these right here, these bursting bulbs, and kind of collect and gather them. As you can see, I'm back to 3 out of 3 charges. Nothing groundbreaking going on here with this new tool, but it's different, it's unique from the main game, and most importantly, the items that you find in the game in general, but especially behind the membranes, there's always something unique and fun, and they did a really good job in that department. There's a ton of new weapons, and I'm going to show you a spell here in a second, but just to kind of get you incentivized to do some exploration, you can see I have a new bow right here. We have a new condition called frailty, and you can have arrows that deal frailty. I have a wand right here. I found a soul cube, a new shield, special nautical theme, some 2-handed weapons. But let me just show you 2 spells. One is, of course, a summons. So some summoners out there, you're not left behind. There is a summon spell. There might even be more than this one, but this is the one that I found. And also I'm going to use this spell right here, which is called petrify. And I'm not going to spoil any of the other spells, but I found, I think, at least 4 other spells, and I didn't even do all of the content or explore every possible thing that I could. We're gonna have him look directly into the light. And there we go. He is now petrified. And now watch, I'm going to do the quick cast. You can see a bunch of stones come up, and they deal pretty good damage, actually. He's also stunned right now. Let me do the light cast down here so you can see it a little bit better. Pretty cool. I love that they included new spells, and spellcasters, I think you're going to have a good time searching for these. And of course using them and then taking them with you when you get when you finish the expansion and head back into the main game. So the gear and the items that you find are probably going to be better than what you have currently on. So this is some form of progression. You're going to be incentivized to want to use some of this gear. But another form of progression, and this is also something unique to this actual expansion. The devs really went above and beyond with really trying to add new type of things just to regular gameplay. But as you can see here, I am walking up to a Sarras shrine. Now when you find these shrines, actually, just by activating a shrine, it's going to make the enemies or the creatures in the realm of Sarras here weaker. So you're getting more powerful simply just by activating the shrine. And the DLC can actually, or the expansion can actually feel pretty challenging in some areas, even on like the adventure difficulty. So you're incentivized to try to find these shrines to kind of power up your character or actually make the world around you a little bit weaker. But also these shrines offer a form of skill tree progression that you can change on the fly. So if you take a look here, here are the 3 new skill trees. We have warrior, rogue, and also mystic. I'm gonna go ahead and spend a skill point, and as you can see, I put 2 points into warrior. I haven't done anything on this load point with mystic or rogue, but so if we click on warrior here, you can see I will say one mild criticism is that the skill tree, there's nothing too exciting about these skill trees, so to say. It's not like you're getting special attacks or anything. I think that's one thing that the game is missing for martial characters just in general. The game is missing some of the melee combat. As great as it is, I feel like the spell casting in this game is so much more fun than playing as a martial character, because there's so many different spells. There's only so much you can do with melee, and these skill trees don't have anything crazy, so to say. As you can see right here, heavy attacks increase attack speed by 25%. Melee attacks done when jumping or falling are always critical. So a lot of these passive types effects, if we go over to the mystic tree right here, as you can see, regenerate 2% of the last damage dealt as mana. If we go down to the bottom of the tree, melee weapons and shields are considered as wands. So that's really cool, actually, for those of you guys that understand what that means. But these are mostly just passive type things, so they're not that exciting to obtain, because it's not like you're getting new spells or anything like that with these skill trees, but they're really powerful. And a cool thing in this expansion is that as you're playing, you can choose which one of those skill trees you want to be active. So if you look next to where I'm cycling through health potions and food right now, if I press B, I have now activated the rogue skill tree from the shrine. If I press B again, now the warrior tree is active. Now the mystic tree is active, and you're basically just turning on and off the different skill trees, the different Sarras skill trees, depending on what you're doing in the moment. So if you're a hybrid build in general, this can be super useful, but you know, depending on what you're doing, what weapon you're using, what spell you're trying out, etc., don't be afraid to switch those active skill trees around. Or you could just leave on one. Maybe you are just a two-handed warrior, you only use your two-handed weapon, and you want to stick with that and do nothing else. You hate wizards. Well, just go all out in the warrior skill tree. It's perfectly fine, and just leave it on warrior at all times. And at the very least, you have another progression system for this expansion, and I think it's great that they included that. I just confirmed with one of the devs that those 3 skill trees do carry over outside of the expansion. So after you beat the expansion, you can still choose which one you want active. They'll still be active skill trees. I don't know how that'll play into the balancing of the overall game. That I can't speak on, but it is interesting that they're allowing you to take that with you. And also, if you take the same character and go into New Game Plus and then replay the expansion, you'll have the opportunity to actually max out those skill trees, because you won't have enough points just on your first expansion run to do so. Also note that everything is voice acted in this expansion, and overall the voice acting I think is really good. It might even be better than the main game, which is cool to see that they didn't hold back in that category. This character is nothing special in particular, but just so you guys can see proof that there is voice acting.
Doesn't matter. You'll meet others like me, reef bounds. and they'll treat you with proper respect.
But overall, this was good, in my opinion, in this category. I thought the main game was decent, too, especially considering they're indie. You have to cut some slack. There was a couple voices, though, that I didn't really like. I thought were a little bit low quality, but in the expansion, everything sounds great. I also want to say that there are plenty of new boss fights that you guys can be excited for. A few of them are kind of a little bit lackluster, I guess you could say, but there's also a few that really stand out, and there's some really interesting arenas that they put you in with some cool mechanics going on. And then at the end of the game, I encourage you guys to try both different endings, because it changes a little bit. Don't want to give up too much, but the content that you experience, it changes up a little bit of combat, and it's cool. I think you guys should see, because I didn't expect it to do that. As far as bugs and performance goes, you can see my FPS in the top left of the screen. It seems to be fluctuating between 105 and about 120 or so. I have a 4080 GPU. I'm playing on 1440p with the highest settings that you can have, and I didn't really notice too many performance issues for myself. There were a few times when I had some stutters, but I feel like out of like the 5 stutters that I remember, 4 of them were during dialogue, which I didn't expect. So overall, it's running good for me. But of course, if you're playing on console, you need to look to someone that is able to play it on console. And as far as bugs go, I didn't write down anything, which means I didn't experience any major bugs that were really worth talking about. And I'm playing on a version of the game that's before the version that content creators and press will get. Maybe mine is actually different, but it was actually good for me. So good job in both of those categories, at least on my PC and on my version of the game. And that's going to be it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Double thumbs up for me for the Sanctuary of Sarras. Overall, just a solid expansion, and I think it offers enough content to be worth that $15, and the content is also really fun and unique, which is exactly what you want for an expansion. So bravo to the devs, and hopefully you guys enjoy it as well. Let me know down below in the comments if you're planning on playing it, and I'll catch you all on the next one.